Okay guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay guys, it is December 18th, Wednesday, and it is 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Q post from today. I also have some people to thank, but I'm going to do that at the end of the show. All right, we are going to jump into that now. I'm just going to pick up right from where I left off in the last video. We left off with the very last post from yesterday, and we're starting with the very first post from today. Now, Q is still posting, just so you know. So I have taken the post right up until 11:01 p.m. And if Q posts after that, I will have to catch it up tomorrow. Now, I am planning on doing a show tomorrow. I do not have to go to the hospital tomorrow. So that gives me a day to get caught up with news and so forth as well. So I am planning on doing a show tomorrow, possibly two. It will depend on how much news there is, etc. So anyway, let's get going with the Q post. I know that's why you're here. I hope everyone is doing well. You're looking well. Anyway, all right, let's go. Now, the first post from the 18th of December today is this. It's the fourth Pentagon official announces resignation within week. So that's 4 people within this past week that have resigned from the Pentagon. Now that is quite significant. And of course, we are told to pay attention to resignations, and we have been doing that. There's been all sorts of resignations, not just in the DOJ and FBI and what have you, but also CEOs of major companies. So there is house cleaning, just as Q has said here, house cleaning, no mess, no stress. So that is what they're doing. They are cleaning house, and they are doing it swiftly. It may not seem like it's happening swiftly, but really it actually is. So it says Durham discoveries can lead to early retirement. Think FBI departures. Think DOJ departures. Q. Now let's go take a look at this link that Q has left us to look at. Obviously, he wants us to see it. And it says, just in, fourth Pentagon official announces resignation within week. Now, I don't think that it's completely necessary that we go out and read this, in full, because Q obviously,
A top Pentagon intelligence official will soon leave the building. The fourth key defense.
Because Q obviously led us to the tweet, not the article itself, but we will just take a quick look here so we will know what is happening. And top Pentagon intelligence official will soon leave the building, the fourth key defense official to announce their resignation within a week. Principal Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, Carrie Bingen, submitted her resignation on December 5th and will leave January 10th. Pentagon spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Uriah Orland, confirmed in a statement her departure was first reported by Politico. The department's commitment to providing unmatched intelligence as we implement the National Defense Strategy remains unwavering. We appreciate her service to the department and wish her continued success in the next chapter of her life, he added. Bingden was the Defense Department's #2 intelligence official and has been in the role since May 2017. Prior to that, she served as the House Armed Services Committee's policy director for 4 years and held a number of other positions on the committee's Strategic Forces panel. Her announced departure follows 3 others within 7 days. The December 12th notification that top Asia policy official Randall Shriver would leave after 2 years on the job. The December 13th announcement that top official in charge of personnel and readiness, Jimmy Stewart, had resigned after a little over a year on the job. And on Tuesday, Defense News reported that Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency leader Stephen Walker will leave in January for a private sector job. These 4 vacancies add to a number of openings within the Defense Department within 6 of the 21 Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense policy jobs still empty. Several other roles are filled in an acting capacity, including Chief Management Officer, Comptroller, Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy and Assistant Defense Secretary for International Security Affairs. Defense Secretary Mark Esper earlier this week downplayed the departures, telling reporters that there is a rhythm to people leaving and taking positions, and said that there was already a replacement for Stewart. You'll probably see another couple of more announcements are coming up soon, Esper said on Monday while flying back to the U.S. from Belgium. Again, that's a normal rotation. Folks have been at it hard for 2 years now, 2+ years. You have this happen every last year. He added that it's important to get people in place as quickly as possible, if not confirmed, at least acting, and keep moving the Pentagon forward. So, house cleaning taking place there. Q is letting us know this isn't just a normal rhythm, this is house cleaning. So we can take Q at his word, take that to the bank. And I put this here as well by Dio Presso Liber, Durham's investigation producing results. Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intel for Carrie Bingden is leaving January 10th. Her announcement is the 4th in 7 days from the Pentagon. Durham's investigation is uprooting the moles and traitors in the DoD at the Pentagon. And isn't that exactly what we want? Absolutely it is. So we are coming down here to the next drop, and this is drop 3719 from today, senior resignations at DOJ and DARPA. So the Q has put this here, and it says statement by Attorney General William P. Barr on the departure of Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General Edward O. Callahan. And we have a link here, and Q says still tracking designations, DARPA, Facebook, Q. Now let's take a look, because this link leads to here. I've clipped it out to save us a little bit of time. DARPA head resigns. Now remember, Facebook came out of DARPA. Remember, DARPA LifeLog was a project very much like Facebook, and the day that they killed LifeLog is the day that Facebook began. So Facebook, really Google, they're all part of DARPA. DARPA head resigns, moving on to industry. Washington, Stephen Walker, the 21st director of the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, announced his resignation on Tuesday, which will be effective January 10th, 2020, Defense News has learned. Walker will move on to a position in industry through a DARPA spokesman did not reveal where. DARPA Deputy Director Peter Hyman, a former Director of Research of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, will assume the role of acting director until a permanent director is appointed. Hyman is also a former director of the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects activity. DARPA is responsible for driving development of emerging technologies for use by the military. Walker and Vint, not sure what that is, Vint Cerf, one of the creators of the Internet, spoke to Defense News about that role in March and how DARPA can support engagement with the tech community. Among the key efforts launched under Walker's tenure at DARPA was development and fielding of the long-range anti-ship missile, which was accomplished in half the time of a normal development program, DARPA noted in an email. Walker also reinvigorated the agency's hypersonic weapons and space efforts with major programs in boost glide and air-breathing missile development, as well as distributed low Earth orbit satellite constellations. Also noted by the agency, under Walker's leadership, DARPA launched the 3-year, $1.5 billion Electronics Resurgence Initiative, as well as the 5-year, $2 billion AI Next program. Walker also made pivotal investments in the realm of engineered biology, resulting in several breakthroughs, chief among them a program that has helped reduce Ebola fatality rates by more than 70%, the email stated. Walker succeeded Arati Prabhakar, who left the agency in January 2017. So that's interesting. And Q tells us to note this resignation, as he has asked in the past us to keep track of all these resignations, and some of the Anons have done that, and there is actually somewhere a document that lists all major resignations that have happened under Trump. So this is a major resignation that Q is asking us to note. And we go on to drop 3720. Democrats don't want you to watch Bill Barr tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And Q says timing of impeachment vote revised, and indeed it was. They changed it to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which coincides perfectly with the interview with Barr. Now, why would they do that? Well, obviously, they did that on purpose. Coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence at all. Q. Now, the reason they did that is because they don't want us to watch Bill Barr. They want us to watch the impeachment. They don't want the less that he gets exposure to them, the better. They want their narrative front and center. Now, we are going on to drop 3721. Fake news represents a clear and present danger to the constitutional republic of the USA. Now, again, this is from today, but it was also posted before, so it is a redrop, and Q makes sure that we understand that it's a redrop by putting right here, it's a redrop. So we know that. This will be familiar to those of you that have been following Q. What happens when 90% of the media is controlled, owned by 6 corporations? And of course, we know that it is. What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? And of course, we know that they are. They are Democrat. What happens when the news is no longer free from bias? Well, then it's no longer the news, is it? It's propaganda. It ceases being news and it becomes propaganda. What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? Again, it becomes no longer the news and it becomes propaganda. What happens when the news is no longer, what happens when the news is no longer trustworthy? Well, it's the same. We cannot trust the news. We cannot trust any of the mainstream news, and not even all of the alternate news. We have to pick and choose what we believe and who we believe, and we should. We should be, I don't think we should be taking anybody at their word, to tell you the truth. And I don't want you to take me at my word. If I say something and it sounds off, check it out. And if I'm wrong, call me on it. Really, I would much rather look stupid than put out in misinformation or disinformation. I don't want that at all. I'd rather, swallow my pride and say, oh, you know what, I missed it. But So anyway, what happens when the news simply becomes an extension arm of a political party? And of course, we know that the mainstream news is an extension of the Democrat Party. Fact becomes fiction. Absolutely. The news is reported as news, but quite often it's not. It's fiction. Just like when they said that the rockets, were happening, but it really was a gun range in Kentucky, and they were saying it was over in Syria. Things like that happen all the time, and they've been happening for many, many years now. Fact becomes fiction. Fiction becomes fact. When does news become propaganda? Well, it has become propaganda because it's no longer non-biased. They're not reporting the news. They're reporting, slanted, some of it fact, some of it fiction. They're very economical with the truth. If it's not the whole truth, it's a lie, right? Because you can put enough truth in there to make it palatable, but it's still a lie. And so it's now become propaganda because they are deciding the narrative they want us to believe, and they are supplying that through whatever means necessary. When identity creation, absolutely. How does the average person who is under constant financial stress by design find time to research and discern fact versus fiction? Many of them can't. They can't. Their days are taken up with working, caring for children, toting children around from one thing to another, paying their bills, doing their laundry, buying their groceries, all these things, getting new tags for their car, getting their cars, looked at, oil changes and this and that. I mean, there's so much to do in this day and age that it becomes extremely hard for people to find the time to research for themselves. And that is where people like myself come in and other alternate news media, because we take the time that others don't have to do that research for them. And that's good to a certain extent if you can trust the person that is giving you that information. For the most part, I think most of the people in this movement are very, very good people. There are a few that, are not, but most in this patriot movement are very good people, and they just want the truth to get out there. All right. Majority of people more prone to believe someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name. Do people, human psyche, tend to follow the majority mainstream viewpoint in fear of being isolated and or shunned? And of course, that is true. It's always been true. I've got an undergrad degree in psychology as well. And, I know that was always what I learned, is that it's much easier to follow the crowd. And that's what people tend to do, because you tend to, and I've always had, I don't know, through the positions that I've had and the life situations I've been in, I've gotten to see an area of life that very, very few people get to see. And so I have views that are not popular. Well, I know what that's like to have everybody else believing something else and you believe something different. You are believing that based on what you've experienced and what you've seen and the facts you've researched. But inside you think, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong because everybody else thinks differently. Could I be wrong? And that is what it's designed to do, because and there's that whole thing about authority bias, because if you see somebody, it's like if you see somebody in a white lab coat, you tend to believe what they're going to say to you. And when you see somebody behind a big news desk and there's CNN up there or Fox News or whatever, you think, well, they're telling me the truth. They're going to give me the truth. Not necessarily. It could be some dweeb like me that's giving you the truth. Or there's lots of other people as well out there that are trying their very best to give out the truth and to propagate the truth. So there you go. And it says mainstream is used for a reason. Dominate trend and opinion. Absolutely. Because most people get all of their news from the mainstream. Very few people get it from alternative news sources, because the mainstream tends to label those as conspiracy and what have you. So, and people will tend to think that they are unreliable, whereas what they don't realize, most people, that what they're listening to is unreliable. All right, so coordinated by who? Oh, and it says, why do mainstream media heads within different organizations always use the same keywords and or catchphrases? Because it's all coming down from the top. There are 6 corporations that own almost, 90% of the news, radio, newspapers in the country. So all of what we're hearing, mostly 90%, is coming from 6 sources who are the arm of the Democrat Party. They are definitely liberal. They are far left. And that is where we're getting most of our news from. So yeah, of course, they're going to have the same key phrases. They're going to have the same keywords or what have you, because they're getting their drops at 4 a.m. So says Q. 4 a.m. they get it from the CIA, and they are told what the narrative is and how to spin that. So, yeah. Coordinated by who? Outside entity providing instructions? Absolutely, there is. There is an outside entity providing instructions. And we know that because we can take the different news stations and they all say the exact same. You can layer them over top of one another and they're saying the exact same thing in the exact same way. So, do echo chamber tactics provide validation, credibility to the topic point being discussed? Yes, because if you are Joe Schmo out there, or Josephine Schmo out there, and you're sitting in front of the TV and you're clicking, and there's a big news topic that day, and you click and you click and you click, and every single station's saying the same thing, you think, well, that must be true. That's what must be what's happening. Threat to intellectual freedom? You bet. You bet. Freedom of thought is not valued the way it should be. Really should be. Would control over of these institutions, organizations allow for the mass control of a population's viewpoint regarding a desired topic? Well, of course. They tell us what to think, how to think, if to think. So, and they keep us busy with bread and circuses. It's all entertainment, and, you're worried about your sustenance, and they keep you entertained. They keep you, most of the news is not even news. It's about entertainment. It's about throwing you about, whether Britney Spears is wearing underwear, or stupid things, absolutely ludicrous things that mean absolutely nothing to anybody. But that is what we've got for the so-called news. So, why, after the election of 2016, did Democrats and Media Corps jumpstart a coordinated and planned divisive blitz intended to create falsehoods regarding illegitimacy of election, character assassination of POTUS through sexism, racism, and every other ism? Well, of course, they had this planned before he even took office, because they thought, well, if he gets in, this is what we're going to do. They want to put it in our heads that he is an illegitimate president, that he didn't really win, that Hillary won, and it's only because of the Electoral College that Trump got in. They want us to be thinking that. They want us to think that he is a racist, sexist, misogynist, whatever. And they are doing that for a reason. Post 2016 election, well, it didn't matter because they started it before the election and it's still going today. They haven't let up on Trump all this time at all. It's just gotten worse, incrementally worse. Why were violent, masked terror organizations such as Antifa immediately created or funded? Yes, they were created and funded by Soros and his like. And they were meant to cause division and upset, and so that the news could point to Antifa and say, see what Trump has done? See what he is inspiring in this country? It's exactly why. Why were these organizations tasked with immediate intimidation and shutdown of any pro-POTUS rallies and or events? Because why would they want people going to those? They want to control the narrative, and they don't want you to see all the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that pack stadiums. No, they want you to focus on the few dweebs out there in Antifa masks creating havoc. That's what they want you to focus on. So that's why they go. So when you control the levers of news dissemination, you control the narrative. Absolutely. Control of the narrative equals power. Absolutely. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. When you are blind, what do you see? Nothing. They want you divided. Divided by religion. Divided by sex. Divided by political affiliation. Divided by class. When you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you, not those responsible, not the controllers. Divided, you are weak. Divided, you pose no threat to their control. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or stable livestock kept sheep. So, that is why YouTube targets people like myself with conservative views, because we are a threat to the narrative. And we can't have that now, can we? When you are awake, you stand at the outside of the stable, the groupthink, or the collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism, which empiricism is provable facts, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma. This represents a clear and present danger to the constitutional republic of the United States of America. Well, at least the cabal. Q. So, and this by Dio Presso Liber. This is a repost. Q dropped this post on November 25th. 6 corporations control the media. Fake news is the extension of the Democrat Party. Look at the downfall of Fox News, for instance. The public is focused on their kids and paying off their mortgages and credit cards, and that is the truth. Now, we are going on to the next post here, 3722. Will POTUS take Democrats' impeachment scam to the U.S. Supreme Court? Now, there is a link here, but this link leads to this, so there's no need for us to go out and view it because Q has clipped it and put it here. The Mueller report, and this is a tweet by Donald J. Trump. The Mueller report, despite being written by angry Democrats and Trump haters and unlimited money behind it, $35 million, didn't lay a glove on me. I did nothing wrong. If the partisan Dems ever tried to impeach, I would first head to the U.S. Supreme Court. So, this is, will POTUS take Democrats' impeachment scam to the U.S. Supreme Court? I don't know. I guess that would be a possibility. I don't know. I don't know the laws over impeachment enough to be able to comment on that with, any intelligence. But I would assume that if it's possible and he is able to take it to the Supreme Court, that he would. Although I don't think he's going to need to. I think that it's going to die a horrible death in the Senate. All right, let's go to the next post. It is called, well, the title is To Be Determined, and it's drop 3723. And this has a link that we're going to go out to now. This is the last post from Q for today. Certainly, I hope not the last post from Q, but certainly the last one from today, unless he has posted any additional posts since we have been talking here. An impeachment roll for the Supreme Court. This is today's news, so it's hot and fresh. Do the charges against Trump pass constitutional muster? The justices should decide before the Senate does. In the present overheated state of official Washington, there may be no alternative to charging into an impeachment trial whose outcome is a foregone conclusion. There is no allegation of treason, bribery, a high crime, or a misdemeanor, the 4 categories of offense the Constitution identifies as justifying the removal of a president, and no evidence of any such offense. The Democrats tried bribery for a couple of weeks after their focus groups were stirred by it, but gave it up as too implausible. The only bribe that has been unearthed was one of Biden's family, and not even this rabid ragtag of bloodless assassins has tried treason, though that wicked act was much bandied about in the piping days of the previous Democratic putsch attempt over collusion between Trump and Russia in the 2016 election. The preferable next step would be for the Senate to ask the Supreme Court to determine whether the 4 grounds cited by the Constitution for removal of a president are exclusive, and accordingly, this impeachment bill will not need to be tried, or those categories are merely illustrative, and Gerald Ford was correct when he said impeachment can be for any reason the majority in the House of Representatives determines. I believe it is clear that the authors of the Constitution did not want a president removed for anything less than a high crime, and that none of the impeachment efforts in history would qualify. Andrew Johnson had fired the war secretary, which was his right, and he was narrowly acquitted in 1968 in the intense post-Civil War Reconstruction atmosphere. Richard Nixon was charged by the Judiciary Committee with having made it his policy to obstruct and having, through his close subordinates and agents, obstructed the Watergate investigation, and of having endeavored to misuse the IRS, not having actually done so, as Franklin Roosevelt, Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Obama, and others have done, and of impeding the impeachment proceedings by temporary noncompliance with House committee subpoenas. The last was an obviously absurd charge, but even the first two were not high crimes, and there has never been any conclusive evidence that Nixon was guilty of them anyway. But his impeachment case was a model of fairness compared with the present nonsense. President Clinton may have lied to a grand jury about his extramarital sex life, but that was not a high crime either in constitutional terms, and was rightly judged insufficient to justify his removal. The country must decide whether, henceforth, impeachment will be a routine clash between a House of Representatives and White House. I lost my place there. Of different parties over policy differences or acute personal abrasions, as this is, or whether the authors of the Constitution meant, and the national interest requires, that it be reserved for accusations of high crimes on the same plane of misconduct as treason or bribe-taking. And after all the hair-splitting and righteous posturing by the Democrats and the peristocracy of their docile media about quid pro quo, a bribe, and other heinous offenses, they have swaddled themselves in the charges of abuse of power and contempt of Congress. Any observer who isn't by now contemptuous, at least of the House of Representatives, is insane, regardless of being law-abiding or not. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. I think we know quite well what's happening, but it's interesting that the Supreme Court, I did not realize this, they will decide whether this is actually impeachable or not. So interesting. That would be wonderful if it was just thrown out, which it should be because it's ridiculous, but we'll have to play this out, wait and see. All right, now that is the end, and I am going to thank a few people, but I do want to check to make sure that Q has not posted while we have been talking. Well, I've been talking. You've been listening. Yes, there are additional posts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit here tonight because I've, it's just time. So what I'm going to do is I will bring those to you tomorrow, along with any other news and along with any other Q posts that may have accumulated overnight. All right. Well, that is it for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys so much. And just bear with me for a few moments while I thank a few people, because that's important. Now, coffee donors, I want to thank Brenda Snyder, Anon, and Southern Ninja. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And no new Patreon, but I did get some snail mail. Woohoo! That's always fun for me. Robin she sent a wonderful card, a note, and a calendar. And the calendar is called Bad Kitties, and I need to show it to you because it's hysterical. I have been finding it quite amusing myself. Here, I'll show you my favorite one, if I can find it here. And I guess if you are see, I lost my thought because I'm thinking about Bad Kitties. I think that my guys need to be in here in this calendar, to tell you the truth, but I was trying to look for the one that's my favorite, but I don't know if I could. There it is. It says, some people say, never let them see you cry. I say, if you're so mad you could just cry, then cry. It terrifies everybody, and it does. Now, let me go over here so I can make sure that I'm showing this to you. And there it is. But it's every month has a different bad kitty. And some of these are very bad kitties. So it's very cute. I love it. Thank you so much. That was just an awesome gift. Let's go back over here. And Solange Sior sent a card, a letter, information, and a donation. And thank you so much, Solange. I am going to go out and see if I can find, the video of you singing, because I would like to see that. So I am going to do that. Anyway, and Pam J from California, she sent me some elderberry throat lozenges, and they are delicious. They are actually too delicious that I want to eat them all. But, well, I ate too many today. But my voice is better. They must be working. So anyway, thank you so much, Pam. And she sent some ornaments and a card, note. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And some information as well. So thank you. And David Jones from the UK, he sent me some tins of Walker Scottish shortbread. It is the world's best shortbread, and let me tell you, it really is. And I have a friend that is originally from Ireland, and she knows all about Walker's Scottish shortbread. And when I told her, she was so jealous. So I told her that I would give her some. But he gave me like a big tin, a smaller tin, and then a tin of like shortbread tarts that, like, I haven't tasted them yet. But I've tasted the shortbread, and let me tell you, it tasted so well that I put it away in my cupboard so that I wouldn't look at it, because I knew that if I look at it, I'm going to want more. So I'll save it for a treat. Thank you so much, David Jones. That was very, very nice, and I love the card, the little pop-out card with the what do you call that? The nativity scene. That was awesome. And through PayPal, Mary P. So thank you guys all so very much. It's so much fun to receive things in the mail. It really is. And whether or not you send a donation, it's just always nice to hear from people and see their handwriting and so forth. And you guys are always so kind to me, really, really kind. And I appreciate it very, very much. And that's why I keep doing this. I love to do it, but you guys make it fun to do because you just seem so appreciative and are always so kind, very kind. So thank you. And you guys stay safe, stay well, stay blessed. I'm coming back tomorrow. I don't know if that's a warning or not, but I am. I'll be here. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And let me tell you, it's like minus 18 out there now. So it is cold here. So I'm not going to be going too far tomorrow. I'm going to be staying here and working and catching up on news and doing my writing and things like that. So, all right. You guys, you have a good night's sleep. And I'll see you tomorrow. Keep seeking truth. You know, deception bites right in the hinder parts.